but this week was my turn. Actually, no, we farm TL and scrims more than anyone. We lose more games to like IMT than to TL. Hello and welcome to The Dive, Season 7, Episode 4. A very special episode because I won't be here anymore, I guess.
My favorite episode ever.
This is my whole part of the episode.
Yep. Our producer actually said, Elias told us, this is the best episode of The Dive ever. That is a direct quote. So it was supposed to just be a quick little segment with Zven and then added in, but it was actually amazing. We get to talk about a lot of it. That's going to be coming right up after this. We have to get some stuff out of the way, but definitely stay tuned. Watch the episode with Zven. It's a banger. It turns out that our RP giveaway was illegal.
Whoopsies.
So we were in the process of breaking the law. We didn't finish breaking it, so we're still
not criminals
fine.
yet.
Yeah, exactly.
No prosecution coming, but warnings were coming.
We're gonna stop breaking the law now.
Yeah. So further details will be coming for the RP giveaway in the coming weeks on a way that's not illegal. Thumbs up. And without further ado, enjoy the episode with Zven.
Yeah.
Well, I chugged the Red Bull before.
Mark starts clapping, so we just start clapping. We're here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
This is Friday night, so right after you played the LCS game, so I guess you played a couple hours ago.
Right after we lost, yeah.
Yeah, it took a fat L, but you guys have been doing pretty well so far. I think
we had a good start. I think our first couple games were really good, but then our last 3 games, we won against TSM, were pretty bad. It felt like our drafts were bad, and we played bad, and the games were like super, not necessarily boring, but like uneventful.
Yeah.
Feels bad to play.
I mean, there's a, especially if you lose those games, right? Because it kind of feels like you're just farming for 20 minutes, and then one thing happens, it goes bad, and then the game ends.
Siri Lulu versus Lucianami, oink, 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 and then Marcus Giovanni, oink, 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 and then suddenly lose one team fight, GG. Okay, cool. Let's go home, guys.
So why do you think, you're saying basically like the draft is so like the same every time, right? So what is it about the drafts then you didn't like? You're saying you didn't really like your drafts. You think things weren't really going well in those games?
I think the first big draft was pretty good, but then against FlyQuest, we had this draft where...
I'll pull it up for you. Yeah,
so I'm a draft. I don't like Jin much as a champion. We call him Mr. Useful in our team because he's really, really useful. But he only wins lane, but then doesn't really win lane either. And then in this game, we have Vi into like a lot of frontline bruisers and tanks.
Yeah.
So when Vi goes in, he's going alone, right? He only has like an Ash Arrow and like a Kyle with him. But we have 2 melees against Silas and Mumu, right? So Vi goes in, Silas, Kyle goes in, gets Mumu with one shot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really win on lane
This game
side.
was so much about mid lane though.
Yeah.
I felt like that mid 2v2 went so bad, and then I was like, well, the
like
game's
trust me,
kinda
like
over, right?
our whole like review was just like early game and Mumu invades us, so bot has to play safe, and then mid takes 2v2 where Diplex his E doesn't follow. I don't know if you guys watched this 2v2.
Yeah.
Where it didn't go over the wall.
Yeah. In the game, he thought it was a bug, but he didn't say anything because he was like, maybe just didn't want to pause. We were also home at this point. We were like, this was
the weird
audio
one.
issues. Yeah. So he said he thought it was a bug after the day. I watched him like, bro, just fucking pause next time.
that's actually,
don't be that guy who doesn't pause and then regrets it afterwards. Just don't be that guy, right?
It's kind of like unironically. I mean, it sounds like flame, but it's not really flame. But it's like a rookie move, right?
Yes.
Where it's like,
100%.
yeah, because it's like you don't get punished for pausing, right? You're not going to get punished. So if there's something that might be a bug, pause that shit.
Yeah.
Well, especially like after the 2v2 fails, like you don't pause it until because you get the kill, you're like, it's on them to pause if they didn't like that.
1-0, it's fine. Just keep playing. Like I've been there before, right? But then this one
solo kills, something's not right about it. It's
I
just
didn't see it
feeling
in
off.
the game. I just hear a double kill. I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, like watching it back, it looked like his E doesn't follow him over the wall.
Yeah.
Because there's no space, perhaps.
Yeah, so I think the game puts him back on the
But
other
that's not how
side.
it's supposed to be with like Kali's E. It's like, so that kind of like ruined the game.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Because then he had to spend his
Fudge was
R2
like
to go
ahead in the
over.
early game.
Yeah.
But he felt pressured to do something because we were kind of losing mid jungle and bot was like just even farming. So he felt pressure to do something, and
then he got solo killed.
trying to dive, right? It was like trying to like pressure him more than he should be. He was up in CS already, so that game felt like it left something to be desired for like the 2 best teams in the league at that point. So I didn't feel that bad after losing them. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Audio issues, we were home, dog shit draft, 2v2 failed, just fucking next, and it's okay, like just move on. Like we cope. But then in the last 2 games against TSM and against EG, I felt like our early games were bad and we didn't do anything, and we didn't have like against EG. I still don't know what we can do in this game. We don't have any CC besides Johnny ulti, but they have like champs that can just escape so easily.
Yeah.
They have vision all over the whole map with Maokai.
Yeah.
And they rolled Ocean map, the most open map for Maokai, because there's more bushes and they're like longer as well. And then our only engage is Blabber, C1 ult. But if Jordan and FBI have hands, they can just dodge it, right, with their jumps. Even get hit by it and still dash.
Yeah, buffer.
Yeah, Mikael's later in the game as well. And 2 tanks.
Yeah. What do you think about like the Jace pick then? Because to me, it's like Jace is like turbo useless in every game we played. Palafox played it mid. There was the Someday game where he played it as well. I'm like, this pick, you have to have this person like 6 feet under 3 minutes into the game that you're laning against, or it feels so useless.
I actually don't think Jace is like that bad anymore. Like there used to be like a top laner that had to win lane super hard.
But you think he scales pretty well?
But now with like Eclipse, Manamune, and what's called Cyrildas, he actually scales kind of well in the game, I think. He's like fine just farming. But we flexed it the whole week, and it was kind of strong on our scrims, and even before that, it was kind of strong too. And then we just got caught off guard by the Tristana pick.
Yeah.
We didn't have like a good counter to Tristana. We put out blind pick mid, and then pick Gwen. But I think Gwen can't do much in this game. Like she wins against Xante, sure, but they have range champs everywhere and Maokai.
Yeah.
So Gwen can't hit anyone.
Yeah. It felt like you guys didn't have enough engage to deal with them because you whip your Sejuani ult out and they jump away and then you're like, all right.
Yeah.
See you
If
next
engage
fight.
fails, it's over.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't fail, like if Blabber ults someone and Inspire presses R towards us, the fight comes to like a standoff.
Yeah.
And then we lost already. Because now they have
it's not
Lushnami, but
just
it's
walk forward
all
with W as well.
Maokai's E's on fucking cooldown. Like, yoink, yoink, yoink. There's a bush.
Not upset about it.
There's a bush everywhere. And I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think like early game went well. Like we didn't die to the bot gank from Maokai. He flashed on us level 3. They did like a 3-camp bot side gank and we didn't die to it. I was like, okay, that's pretty good for us. I'm gonna be heading jungle. And then we got 2 dragons for Herald, which was good because we're playing the comp that loses at Herald. They had like Gale Force, Mandate, a second Herald, and we got the Herald and no one died for it. So I was like, oh, the game's going well. But then at 3rd dragon, we had a standoff, Blabber ults, Inspired ults, standoff now. And we're like,
Repeat
guys,
for the rest of the game.
Who can do something, guys? EQs hits Xante for 1 damage. Guys, how do we win this? I don't know.
I mean, this is kind of like my problem with Jace though. Like it's interesting because I know a lot of people feel like it's pretty strong right now, but I feel like you're inherently like missing a lot of like your options when you're picking Jace over a lot of these other champions, right? Like because it feels super limited in the way in which you can play the game. Like you can either go side and hope that you can create pressure, or you group and you poke and then you try to find something off of that, right? But look, when teams are drafting so much frontline like they are right now, like Maokai, Cassante, we're seeing Sion, we're seeing all these champions. Like there's so many champions that it's so easy. Like they didn't even build Warmogs, but we're seeing a lot of junglers go Warmog second. And then you literally just walk into every single bit of poke. And now what is Jace's recourse? Right? Because then they're like forcing out an objective. No one's poked down. Jace can't just like walk in hammer form and jump on someone, you know? Like that's kind of my problem with this champion compared to, I feel like a lot of like the control mages and a lot of the other options is that they have more agency and they have like, it feels like better follow-up, right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
And that's kind of like the difficulty is like feeling like where it fits in like how your comp functions.
Yeah, I think our 4-5s have been pretty bad in general. In this draft we have here, we need more engage. We need more like do something champs. Yeah. Because we have Siri Lulu already. But we didn't have that. Same thing happened in other games we played. We just don't have any comeback tools whatsoever. Yeah. And at that point you're just like win lane, win game, or just fucking lose. Yeah. That's what happened against FlyQuest as well, you know, like we didn't win early game, can't win. Why engages? And Moonwalk presses R, dead. You know, like what can we do at that point to win, right? Ash arrows, doesn't matter who I hit, no one has follow-up. We have Fiora and Akali and Vi, you know? Yeah. Everyone goes in, they die one shot. So we kind of like put ourselves with our backs in our corner or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I feel
limited
like
options.
Yeah. A lot of people feel like they're having this draft problem where like drafts just get away from you as it goes on. Because there's like the really standard opening with like everyone's taking jungle and bot lane. Yeah. And then from there, people are like, I don't really know exactly what's going on. Because there was the FlyQuest game where they ended up banning so many AD carries and supports, and then they 2-3 them for the side of 100 Thieves, and then they banned 2 more. Sarvakan and Nautilus Kai'Sa. Yeah. And I was talking to some people, some players after that, and they're like, well, we don't know what we're doing in draft. Like, I look at the TSM CLG game where like, you know, the Jace goes against, they have all AD against the Sion. They're like,
I saw Sion. He was a raid boss.
Yeah, Solo got a double kill early and like a not great dive, but it's like.
But that top player is like, that should never be happening, you know, like
Sion diving.
How is Sion stacking a wave on Renekton and like diving Renekton with Elise? Like, what even is this, you know? Also, like the whole Elise, Silas, Sion top lane makes no fucking sense, you know?
Yeah. This episode's getting demonetized on YouTube.
I was told before this, I can swear. So I'm gonna,
yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
you
drop
can't.
the,
You can't.
I was like,
drop the hammer.
What's up with this, you know? Like, how can you have Sion, Elise, same team? Okay, so surely you have something maybe like Kiana or Renekton, you know, like something. But no, we have Silas mid.
Yeah, no setup in any lane for the Elise. Yeah.
And then this top dive was like so scuffed too. I watched it live and I was like, Douglas is mega outplaying it. And it's like a 1-for-1, I think. And then Palafox tanks a full damage Sion Q, gets chunked 1 HP, and then gets redove, and Soul gets double kill. I'm like, yo. I'm just like, this was I remember sitting with Berserker on the couch, and he was like, wow, this is low elo. And it's like, this typical accent, wow, this game, really low elo. I'm like, yep, this is low elo for sure.
I mean, Sion looked invincible in every game he got played.
Sitting there egoing a lot of people.
Yeah. That's the classic.
I would never do that.
Oh, yeah, they're so bad.
I mean, Impact's Sion game as well against who was it? God.
Yeah, I remember he was also
100 Thieves. He was absolutely invincible. I remember it was like at first he was like pop his shield and he would kind of like absorb some damage. He would try to like dodge the rest, and then it got to a point in the game.
I was like, yo, what's up?
He started dancing and then culling. And that's when you know it's like when someone does that thing in game, you can kind of try to laugh it off, but like that's demoralizing. That's like your only damage is Lucian, and this guy doesn't care at all.
I will say Lucian players, Berserker included, have this thing where they buy like straight at Dirk, CDR shoes, Gale Force, Fire Cannon, the worst possible items against Sion. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised to do no damage to him, right? And I asked Berserker about it. Why do you build this against Sion? And like they have like Vi jungle, full tank, Tabis, Vader Virtue, and it's like, it's my signature. I'm like, huh? My signature items. Okay, you know. But how about like Kraken Slayer? I know it's like it's kind of like almost taboo to say the word Kraken Slayer.
Yeah,
because Gale Force forward.
Do you know
first
that
strike,
Kraken Slayer doesn't have a dash on it?
Yeah, it's like fun. I'm like, yeah, but playing it's like Sion, you're gonna hit him the whole team fight. Sion's Johnny, like just Kraken Slayer, never more quick plates. More dumps. Skip the Dirk in lane phase. You don't need a Dirk to win the game. Like. But yeah, it's like Lucian players definitely are the number one like offenders of this. And Siri also buys low damage early, Runans and Shield Bow.
Yeah.
And then she buys Never Warrior Quick Blades, and then it's low dom next time. And even if you buy low dom's third, it's still low damage to like a Sion with 3,500 HP,
pea shooter,
350 armor, and like you need someone else to kill them, right?
What do you think about all these people that are it's kind of been a hot topic for itemization for ADs. So many people that are skipping like IE or Navori second, like and actually delaying until third,
someone
fourth item.
Yes, Yawn.
There was
that
also
was very legal.
The Sivir game. Was it Luger that did the I can't even think what the Executioners upgraded.
Mortal Reminder,
it was Neo against Luger.
Oh yeah.
So I think Yawn played Sivir against. Doesn't even matter what you're playing as. I remember he was troll building. That's all. Can you pull up?
It was his first game. You mean the 100 Thieves one?
The day one, yeah.
Yeah, he was playing.
He bought Kraken Slayer PD. Not only so this game actually was a free win for TL. I think their bowling was doing really well in a matchup that outscales super hard, and then they just ran down level 6 in a bush fight that they had vision of 100 Thieves in the fucking bush, right?
Yeah.
And then Jan builds like Kraken PD in this game. And it was just so disgusting.
It was also the game, like, so they int bot lane because Core walks too far forward. And then they were still fine that entire game. And then Bjergsen just lands like a naked flip, like nothing on him. Like, you see it coming.
On Harry.
Harry doesn't flash it.
He just walks forward and presses W. I'm like, wow, Talia's broken. You can just do that. I think Harry and Jan have not been playing really well so far this split. I don't think, let's not say that Summit and Koji have been playing well either. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. They've been playing shit too, right? I think that Summit is like, he really is like that guy.
He's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Even today in Xanta game, he like outplays the dive 1v2, and then he just walks forward and dies. I'm like, bro, man, that's my boy right there. Outplays the dive, up 30 CS, we said fucking warrior, and he just dies for no reason.
That was so funny because he all in too, and it wasn't even like I don't even know what the
he was at like 400 health.
It wasn't even
70% health. Yeah.
And same thing against 100 Thieves the day before that. He's like stomping lanes super hard, up 30 CS, goes for a very illegal plate, and then he doesn't flash out afterwards and just dies. I'm like, man.
He walks up and hits the demolish.
He's so much better than most top laners in laning phase, especially.
He
just has like the shy vibe where he just has to int for no reason.
Yeah.
Something random, you know?
It feels like he plays with no respect to the opponents. You know, it's like he feels so much better than his opponents that they couldn't possibly punish him for this. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
there's no way this idiot's gonna kill me.
This peasant is gonna kill me. Like
It really feels like that.
there's on C9. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a play he made like on Gnar where it was like he gets like kick flash or whatever. Like Lee Sin comes in, like all this, like he's getting hard committed to. He gets out from the gank on Gnar.
And he walks back and dies.
And then he's like 1 HP, and we're like, holy shit, Summit, what a play, right? He gets away, and then he just walks right back up to Lee Sin and tries to dodge the Q, and Lee Sin just Qs him. He just dies to the Q, doesn't even have to take it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think Summit is actually a really good player. And when he was in C9 in spring 2022, I was like playing Academy.
Yeah.
I was like a scrim slave at that point. And I was watching him play and I thought, wow, this guy is so much better than everyone else. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
But he was so underutilized because that team had Fudge, who was mid, playing like Corky and
Victor,
like AFK for late game, Gathering Storm because he was whipped by LS and you know, like he was really like a late game player, right?
Yeah.
So when he wasn't playing things like Ryze or Talia or whatever, and Winsome was kind of a bot, I think, back then in that split.
He's gotten a lot better this split.
I think he's playing really well so far. He's fine at least. I think that team didn't work for Summit. That was the meta where Core J was running top every game in scrims and just farming him, and Donald were ganking him. And I felt like if he was playing in a different team that had a mid laner and a support that could play more around him, he would be much better. But in watching him play now, I'm like, maybe I was wrong about him, you know?
I mean, he has insane individual skill.
Yes,
like he
even
pushes
LPL,
leads.
he was really good.
He pushes leads better than almost anyone on the Champions League. He's really good at.
He gains massive advantages out of nothing.
Yep.
But then he just does something really stupid every time. I'm like, come on, man, just
I don't think he's had a game where you don't have like that one clip that you just
in lane phase, and then in the mid game, in
TPs.
the Aatrox game, he did the one TP, and then yesterday,
yesterday.
Yeah, Renekton game did yesterday. He TPs into Honor Thieves on top of a trap, gets one shot. Like what?
He flash stuns Busio randomly or whatever.
What angle do you have there? You know, even if you kill the Varus one shot, it doesn't do anything. He already pressed R. He's useless now.
Yeah.
So. But back to the thing about the item builds.
Yep.
I think that it isn't troll to not buy IE on every second on every HC.
Yep.
Like Siri, for example, is a good Hurricane user, also a good attack speed user. So her buying Hurricane is fine compared to Warrior Quick Blades or IE. And like Neo, bought more Reminder today, which against like Sona, it makes some sense, you know, to buy like Kill Cut because one guy has to buy it.
Yep.
And AoE is preferred. So it's fine against Sona, right? Moonstone is procced on CD and you cut out on your W healing. It's like, it's okay. It's justified at least, right?
Yeah, but you can stop just at the component item now since
You can,
it does the full thing.
You can, yeah. But someone has to buy Executions at some point, right? So it's like, it's okay.
I feel like the components are kind of high value now because they're the same heal cut as the full complete item.
That item used to be high gold value for the stats you got. I don't know about the new one, the one with Last Whisper in it. I don't know if that's worth it to buy, but it's not the worst. You know, it's like there's a thought process there. But like buying PD on Sivir or buying Quick Blades when they have the same purpose, the more you hit, the better PD is, the more you hit, the more Quick Blades are. So they should be bought in the same situation, right?
Yeah.
So it feels wrong to just buy that.
All right, we've been shooting a lot of strays just like left and right at
bam.
Yeah.
You're losing LCS. Not blaming everyone.
You just lost today. You suck Summit. Yeah. So let's just talk about the standings really quickly. Just just calling everyone. Twitch spring.
This is
perfect, eyes closed.
Because we can get other people to come on and flame Zven now.
Yeah, no one can talk back to me here, but I'm here. So
okay, gonna get a lot of requests next week.
Yeah, a lot of players suddenly interested in coming on the dive. That's so curious.
But just talking about the actual standings, like how indicative of the actual strength you think they are versus what you're seeing in scrim. So like FlyQuest is undefeated. Then there's this clump of 4 and 2. That's cringe.
Okay, I will say this. Okay, I thought Fly when I lost to them were like, okay, they're not bad, but we're still better. We lost because of bad draft. Okay, whatever. We can next time we'll beat them, no problem. But then when they won today against 100 Thieves, I was like, this draft was giga unwinnable. I think that draft is completely lost. I think playing 5 melee champs essentially, guys has a melee champ in my head against Syra Khan and Fiora top, like them getting Fiora in that game is so illegal. Fiora against 3 tanks, Nautilus and Kai'Sa. Like, yo, this is Fudge or Summit and Fiora, it's over already. You can't win this game. And then they just like boost you that in lane twice, 2v2 in a really like, this matchup is like
outdated. Like no one.
Yeah, it's like, what's the word? It goes the same way every time.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Right. It's like not complicated. It's like Nautilus versus Leona. It's always the same every game, no matter what. Stack way back and forth. So I'm like, how do you die twice in this game? And then Talia is our pick. I get the Cassio ban, but can we pick something that does like damage to our opponents in this game? I get that Talia was good the day before that.
Yeah.
So it's like a confidence thing. But really?
Well, and to the point, like maybe you think with the Fiora, you're going to like go gank top a bunch of times. And Tenacity did get...
You got a solo kill, and then
a repeat gank.
And then a kill.
Yeah, and then they just never ended up going top again. I don't know if there was like a reason they felt they couldn't. But yeah, it did feel like
I thought when Fly went to the Herald and they lost the fight where Winsome gives a shutdown to Maokai, I was like, wow, this game is over. There's no way they can come back from this. Because now Hunter can just give up one dragon or something and just fight on their Fjord, 2-hand spikes and such. But they just kept getting farmed everywhere. And I think that I'm looking at it now and I'm like, why don't they pick Asir in this game? Asir into like 4 Millichamps and Kaisa? You want to just stand there and like yoink, 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 and you're fucking soldiers, right? Like, it's so weird to me that they picked Talia here and then I'll watch the game and he hits like a full Q on someone, 200 damage.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it kind of felt like their thought process was like playing like almost like anti-dive, right? Like, like Xayah is supposed to be like super good anti-dive.
I think Sarkhan,
you have Talia that they have to run through onto the Xayah and stuff. And it's like when bot lane starts going a little bit bad, then it feels like they don't have damage anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I thought Sarkhan into Sejuani Sunsize is already insane.
Yep.
And then you pick, like, in my opinion, Sarkhan versus Kai'Sa Nautilus is a matchup where you can win early game against Kai'Sa Nautilus, but the moment it's level 6, you can't win anymore.
Yeah,
no matter what happens, if you hook Xayah, you still lose. That kind of matchup, right? And Kaisa gets really not outscaled, but she rather than being ahead to be useful. So getting 2 kills, Treasure Hunter and all that early game helps her a lot. But the main point was FlyQuest being first place. I thought they weren't that insane at first, but then won this game. I'm like, okay, maybe they're actually not bad, because I think this game they had some really good dragon fights around.
Yeah.
That is one flank in the bot side blue jungle where they have TP wards for Vikla, and Spica did the canyon angle.
Yeah, he came all the way through.
Yeah, he was like all the way from bot lane through jungle, finds a really good angle onto double lift and Busio, kills Rakan one shot, and the fight was like kind of close still because of how bad the draft is. But they found that angle, the only angle to win the game. And I was like, that's pretty impressive, right? Like they
I think Prince has been insane.
Yeah, Prince has been playing really well. I think a lot of games, like 80 carries can be 10-0 and do nothing.
Yeah.
I think that Prince today played really well.
Yeah.
But some games against us, he was like 10-0 in the killing game.
But it was clean.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah,
he was playing in a game where it's mid jungle 1-2v2. Not to be like the guy who's shitting on my opponent. He's very good, don't get me wrong. But that I've been AD carrying for many years, right? And some games you're 10-0, you didn't do anything better than AD carry, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the examples. But his Kaisa game,
the
Lucian
other
game,
side though, I was gonna say the
good.
Lucian game, right?
Yeah.
Like the Lucian game, I know some fans were talking about like how they thought, like Doublelift wasn't getting enough credit because he had like, they were comparing scorelines and stuff. But it was like that Lucian game, he didn't have a sexy scoreline, but it felt like he was solo getting them every single objective.
Everything he was just flaming other Lucians about was like, doesn't apply here. He's actually dashing in with the Gale Force.
He was holding his ground and he was, making space for his teammates, which is what Lucian's supposed to be doing with this Navori quick play. It's fire cannon build. You're supposed to make space and create, angles, but I think Prince is really good, I think him and Berserker are, in my opinion, based on not only LCS, but also scrims, clearly the best 2 AD carries.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the other thing I think that has impressed me a bit about FlyQuest is sometimes like we'll have these teams that are at the top of the table, but then someone has like a monster in game, and then it's just like everything falls apart.
Yeah,
like they've actually had a lot of games where one player on their team has had a really bad game and they still win. Like the Vikla game yesterday, I think it was the Aurelia game.
Yeah, he was making a lot of mistakes that game.
He made he got the solo kill early. Well, like it was kind of fake solo kill because it was like after a gank, whatever. But he gets the kill on JoJo, and then after that, there was like so many TP flanks and stuff that he was coming in on, or he's going way too early, or he's getting caught out by himself, and like that was a game that
in the bot lane
actually
times.
I think that Fly EG game should have been EG favored. I watched the game and they had like 3 dragons. They're playing Lucianami against
once JoJo got a bunch of kills.
Yeah, and they were like ahead. They had like this fight in bot river where Victor, after dying to the gank, well, he got solo killed after the gank.
Yeah.
There was like assist on the Amumu.
Yeah, solo kill.
Yeah, solo kill, sorry, right? Yeah. He had like his E upgraded like 5 minutes that game. He got 3 assists or 3 takedowns rather. And I saw Lucianami equal in CS, kill in Lux, which is winning essentially. If you're winning, if you're equal in a losing matchup, you're winning. That's my opinion, right? And they had dragons, and I was like, oh, this game is over. But then EG goes for a deep like jungle invade and gets TP behind by Aurelia, and they get like
it was lights out.
They get like triple killed or like quarter killed, and then Baron, GG.
Yep.
And then Prince gets 14 kills and looks like he's the best player in the universe, but he wasn't doing anything in that game either. And if EG was better, he would have been 0-0-0 and lost, right? So it's hard to say what did Prince do or didn't do because you were losing lane while being even as killing against Lucianami, but you also went 14 kills later, so you probably played good in teamfights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of games like that right now where AD carries turn online suddenly, and then it's like, all right, they clean up these fights.
Even Berserker's pentakill on Siri, like I was watching it back, and I'm like, you're not good. I was like, all the time, don't get ego, man. You're not good. Actually, I watched just before I came here. There was a this or that about us actually about pentakill we got.
Oh,
was it Siri or was it Berserker?
Yeah.
And I think Jad voted it was Berserker, and one guy voted
Kobe. Yeah.
Kobe voted it's all around. It was Siri. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this was a Siri. You're playing Siri against 5 melee champs, and you're just
Rune and bolts, and you just boink, 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 boink.
Bam. Yeah, literally, like there's nothing to do with you, you know?
Yeah.
But I know that feeling of like sometimes AD carry is the worst role in the game because your team sucks, can't do anything. You go mid wave, farm 6 minions, L tap, come back 6 minions again, Facebook 6 minions. And then sometimes
you say Facebook.
you Facebook a little bit and then come back 6 minions.
Check your Twitter DM.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then you come back and farm some more minions. And sometimes you just win the game because your team is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is, right? That's why it feels very unsatisfying to play at times, even by it being a strong role. Don't get me wrong, it's a really good role. It's high on the impact list, I would say.
I feel like AD in jungle and competitive can sometimes like really like take the L in a way where it's like your teammates can like if all your lanes are losing as a jungler, all of a sudden you're warded everywhere. You can't really gank anything. You don't really have any options. And same thing with AD. It's like if your team is hard losing, you can look so bad, but if your team is stomping and like you have a really strong front line, you just kind of like move forward, right? In a lot of the fights.
I will say on that note, like some teams that are losing, like Dignitas, need a jungler that's crazy. Like they need Boogie playing Elise and like farming 3 camps and then fist fighting everywhere he can to make something happen, right? Dignitas don't need Santorin. They need a Boogie.
They need a coin flipper who's going to like get a lead randomly.
Someone who's crazy in the head, right?
Yeah.
But a team like Team Liquid in the past, was a really strong team with good players, good laners. Santorin fits in really well there, right?
Yeah. Well, even like FlyQuest, Spica can play aggro champions, but he's basically on tank duty this meta because it's like, well, you can just spam Maokai Sejuani and our team has 3 legitimate carry threats.
I will say Spica, I didn't think he was that good like in 21 or 22, but he's been really good this season so far. He even plays like a champ no one else plays, a Mumu, and he's making it work, and he's doing well in every game I see him in so far. I think that people are quick to say Prince MVP because he plays the AD carry role while Alga plays Sejuani, but Spica has been more important to their wins than Prince, in my opinion. Prince is just very solid in every tournament game he plays.
Yeah.
He's a very reliable player, doesn't make any bad mistakes, and his team's winning, so he's 14-0 every game.
Yep. Must be nice.
Yeah, right.
All right, so FlyQuest is pretty legit. You're getting turned around on them. You guys are obviously insane. Obviously insane. Yep. Are there any of the other 4-2 teams, EG or
my personal opinion is that Fly is the best team right now, and that's something I didn't believe before, but I'm convinced now after watching the game with 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves, their score is better than they are. That's from us farming them in scrims for a while now.
Yeah, you beat them on stage 2 opening.
Yeah, that was kind of like a whatever game. We had a better draft that game, and it was like a Heimening versus SC matchup. Like, I don't even know what the fuck that was, right? I was like,
2023, baby.
I'll give up champ. Let's go, Heimeninger. And then, yo, that's here. But we won the game, and I thought everyone played well in that game. But Honor Thieves have actually been better than I thought. They're better on stage than our scrims.
Doublelift has been really good on stage.
Yes, I will say Doublelift's been a lot better than I thought he was.
Yeah, me too.
And I think overall that team is solid. They have a very different dynamic. They have their rookie talent in top and support.
Yeah.
While most teams like EG with Danny and Pune try to go for the mid and AD carry roles. Mm-hmm. Even us, we get Berserker, we get Diplex, and the experienced players are in the jungle, top, and support. Jungle support mostly. Core J. TL is the same with Jon and Harry, right? So their approach is interesting. They have the goats in the carry roles where you have talent usually. But I think it can work in this meta, especially where you have so much flexibility in support role, especially. And
there's
top
more
lane,
of an opportunity to show mechanics than if you're playing All-Star or something.
Yeah, exactly. And top has been more and more carry heavy than it's ever been. Fiora, even Cassandra is more of a carry than he's a tank at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not a bad approach. But to the power ranking Marcus was trying to create, I think EG is better than 100 Thieves, despite their record being the same. Have they played each other yet?
Not yet. They play next week. I think 100 Thieves has a hard next week, if I remember.
EG's losses also feel like they have drafted themselves into a corner a little bit. Like they had that one loss where Inspired was playing Elise and they were like giga ahead. And they had like one bad fight at Dragon. They couldn't get Soul or whatever. And
against CLG, yeah. They got outscaled but they were just being bad. Like,
I mean, they make mistakes for sure, right? But
EG should be 5-1. IMO.
Yeah.
Only lost to FlyQuest. So I think I guess it would be FlyQuest, EG, and then us. I think that's a fair ranking. And then I suppose it's just 100 Thieves. Yeah. I keep ranking TL higher than it should be. But this week, was my turn. Actually, no, we farm TL and scrims more than anyone. We lose more games to like IMT than to TL. I'm not even kidding. Like, we actually have TL on like 9%, I think, at this point, over like 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I play as IMT, and I'm like, we lose game. I'm like, oh, wow, TL.
Revenge is just a god. What the hell?
Yeah, IMT, I will say they play a style in scrims that's scrim favored, so to speak. You know, like
playing a little crazy.
You remember they played like Pike Raven?
Yeah.
Like that's always better in scrims than it is in stage, where the game is more slow and people are more serious. They don't test limits so much. But yeah, TL, I rank them higher than they should be the first couple weeks. But now I'm like, FlyQuest was lower than it should be and TL was higher than it should be. But now it's like turning around where I'm like, FlyQuest should be first place and TL should be like 5th, 6th, you know? Yeah. So I think it would be like Fly, EG, us, 100. And then I'm like torn on 5th place. I guess it's just Team Liquid because everyone's just too fucking dog shit. Like TSM sucks, CLG sucks, Golden Guardians. Actually, Golden Guardians started 0-4, but they played us, FlyQuest, EG, and 100.
Yep. Yeah.
So no, TL, I think.
And it was all top.
They had the all top 5 teams.
Real week with Glory as well.
And they had the young guys starting the first week. Yep. So I think they can be given some.
They can be 5th, 6th.
Yeah, they can be 5th, 6th as well. If TL doesn't stop inting soon, they're gonna be like 6th place at this point, with Golden Guardians being 5th. Yeah. But yeah, obviously Dignitas, Giga hopeless. IMT, they're strange because I think Revenge is good, and I think Tactical, despite having a lot of, you know, the moments he has, he's a not bad player, and he can carry games. But the problem is he has too much negative impact at times. Like he's almost a wing condition for the enemy team at times. You can like almost rely on him making a bad play at times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
do you think that's just like feeling that like pressure, like he is feeling like, oh, I need to do something, like, because sometimes people get in that mindset of where they feel I think some players are worse at evaluating the state of the game than others.
Yeah.
And people who feel that they are losing, they tend to be more negative about it. And when I talk to them, they're like, well, I had to make that play because we were losing. And it's like, well, you were even in gold, or actually you were like, okay. And it's like, but they felt like they were losing. So they look for that aggressive play that actually ends up hurting them.
That's a whole other thing too, is just evaluating game state, because there's a lot of times where just based off like the pressure and who is able to actually push at this point in the game,
it can feel really bad. It's so easy to forget that when you're just watching the game as a spectator.
They got a 2K gold lead. Why aren't they doing anything?
You see everything. You see the item completions. You see where the wards are. You see everything, right? You know everything. And then when you're actually playing the game, sometimes it can just feel like, you know, if you're jungling or whatever and someone's invading you nonstop, even if you're not actually getting that behind, it just like feels like you're losing because they're on your side of the map, or you know, if
I think it's a possibility, but it's been going on for too long.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that in TL, where he had a good team around him. So it can't be an excuse anymore. So, not really. But I think IMT, I do like Revenge. I think he's pretty good. I think that he's had
a pretty good split.
He's been having the best split he's had so far, I think, despite his team still being, you know, terrible. I think Kenvi, in his first split, was underutilized. He was playing like Trundle and shit.
They put him on all tanks.
Bro, he's a fucking Kane, Lee Sin, Graves guy, right? You play him play Trundle in LCS, he's gonna be useless, right? It's obvious. So I gave him some slack for that split.
Yeah.
I think so far they've been like, at least they show signs of hope.
Yep. They won his Graves and his Kindred game.
They aren't doing what
like, those are the 2 games that they won when he played carries.
Yeah, literally. You know? Okay, the Graves game, he wasn't the one carrying, but he was playing Graves. He was doing more stuff than he was usually. He was playing with more confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Golden Guardians and Immortals are the 2 teams who like borderline could make playoffs because it's top 6 right now. If they actually improve, it's like, because obviously you say like the 4 teams above, then maybe Team Liquid, and then there's one other spot between like TSM, CLG, Golden Guardians, Immortals.
Yeah.
Right now, tight race for 6th, I think.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
I think Dignitas, despite being hopeless right now, they are getting Ignore back. I heard, you know, the word on the street is that he's here today, actually, as of this Friday, and that next patch is the Melsport game buff patch, the C9 Zven patch. I think Phreak hates me. That's my new theory. He's like nerfing Yumi, nerfing Heimerdinger, and like Phreak, please nerfing Umbreglaive. You know, what's next? Hellblades. So
we were joking about how like
you can get Phreak's address. You can, like, maybe send him like a gift package. You can sign him up for Stratus. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the buffs start rolling.
Yours truly, Sven. Maybe Phreak will help me next patch.
We were talking about like this Zven support meta. It's like, oh, it was enchanters, and then the 80 carries are suddenly meta, and now it's
bribing someone. I will say this though, I don't like this narrative there is that I only play main champs, because when summer started, I played Nautilus, I played Alistar, I played Amumu, I did whatever I had to win, right? I played what I think was best. Then the meta became Yuumi, Lulu, Renata, Nami Lucian.
Yeah.
I played Tahm Kench before that too, right? I played whatever I had to, right?
Yeah.
And we were still winning games. We started a 0-3 record when I wasn't there with Berserker. It was like King and Destiny playing first week, Super Week. And then I just played what I had to, right? And we were still like top 5 with that start playing those champs, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like that narrative. And it's like, no one ever says Koji can't play Ashe, despite him being terrible at Ashe and terrible at Yuumi. And like, there's this narrative in LCS, like amongst pro players, that if you have Team Liquid, Koji playing Yuumi or Lulu, you already won. Despite the draft being like maybe an equal draft, because you have that player on this kind of champion. Because Santorin is more a reactive tank player. Koji is the opposite. He's a engage, do something kind of guy. Playmaker, yeah, let's say that. So if you make this team have that dynamic, you're playing the man and win draft that way. Yeah. Drafting isn't as simple as, okay, our champs are better than theirs.
Yeah, you have to draft for players.
That's why I hate when someone says your draft is bad, but you don't know the alternatives or like how many scenarios they went through in draft meeting. You know, I've sit there in draft meeting for an hour and a half and talk about the doomsday scenarios if they ban this, and the headshot scenario if they ban this, we can't do anything. Like, you don't know what teams are going through in their scrims. Like, sure, every player should be able to play the basics. You know, you can't have an AC, you can't play Siren, can't play Lucianami, right?
Yeah.
But then some ACs can't play Draven.
Yeah.
It's only like Berserker that plays Draven.
I would say most.
And Neo and Tactical.
Plays it.
Yeah, but then you watch Tactical and Neo get 2 kill at 2 minutes into the game on Draven, and you're like, yeah, it's not. That's why no one plays Draven, right? Because they're just bad. But that's why I'm saying that it's like not that simple to just pick this champion if that player can't play it correctly or well enough. So
I think there's 2 things like with the support thing you're talking about. One is that it's way harder to notice a support's contribution on enchanters. So it's like, if you're playing with the person and you're laning with the person, it's much easier. As a caster and both as a fan, we're not watching your whole laning phase, right? So you see a Karma running around and shielding people, you're like, okay, he's doing his job.
I can tell you,
unless you're in versus melee supports, I think it's
obvious.
harder. And I would also say, I don't know what your impression is, but I don't feel like broadcast says you're bad on melee supports. I feel like that's more of like a community thing.
Yeah, it just kind of came out of nothing. And I'm like, is that really true though? Actually, like at some point I was like, doubting myself a little bit. I was like, okay, gameslegends.gg, Zven, Nautilus, positive win rate, Amumu, 50-50 or something, Alistar, 1 win, 0 losses. I'm like, Tahm Kench, 1 win, 0 losses.
When you first swapped to support, I was looking at your solo queue stuff, and you're playing mostly melee supports as well.
Yeah, of course. It is really funny. If you check last win.
Yeah.
So let's see. Summer, Tahm Kench.
Checking the tape.
Nautilus, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
No,
worrying trend.
1, 3 out of 4.
Okay.
Yeah. He was 75%.
3 and 1.
So
Amumu, 1-1.
1-1, yeah.
Okay, but that one game
Braum, 0 and 1.
I remember that game.
Oh, 0%.
I remember that game. Wasn't my fault. I remember that game. Wasn't my fault.
Pretty damning.
Oh, wow. Braum just got buffed this patch. It's doomed.
C9
can't C9 adjust to the melee support meta?
Oh, here we go. Alistar 1-0. Tahm Kench 1-0.
Oh, 100% win rate. Wow.
Wait, Tahm Kench lost?
I guess you lost to Tahm Kench.
No, that game I won. I know why this is saying once. It's because if you go to the history, you'll see that there's a game where I played Senna. Actually, I was playing Tahm Kench that game.
Oh,
it's like
mislabeled.
So Tahm Kench 1-1.
Yeah.
You see, there's a Senna game.
Yeah, there's a Senna.
Yeah, I played Tahm that game actually, but it's whatever, right? I was just like, I wasn't that bad. I was shit at Leona at Worlds against T1, but that game, if I was playing anything else, I would lost too, you know?
Yeah. It's like slightly different.
That's real here, right?
Drink stick.
And then I played Nautilus against Fnatic, and I was like, I got a kill in lane, 2-2, because Phil's like entered it, but still, like, I played fine. I picked the champ that I had to in that draft. We want to play MF against Aphelios, which was bad at Worlds, but I picked the champ that could make that work. Like, I did whatever I had to make it work, and I played lane like I had to. So I'm like, I don't understand this narrative. I can't play melee champs. I think I'm not fucking Vulcan, you know, on Nautilus, but I'm good enough that it's not gonna lose us the game.
I think for a lot of stuff, it's just like what you see is what people will talk about.
Yeah.
You did play those champs, but it was for such a limited time compared to what the meta became that people just don't think that. But I have a follow-up a little bit about like meta determines who looks good so much. You talk about 80 carries and this meta looking good. There's jungle metas where it's like Hecarim, Udyr, like these like power farmers who take over games.
Yeah.
A support will never win an MVP in a meta that
unless
like
it's
this.
Engaged.
Yes.
Unless it's engaged.
That is true. Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where I don't know how you counteract that necessarily. Because
no, it's fair enough.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, like, as a player, does it ever like?
I think you gotta be really fucking good at Yuumi to get MVP as Yuumi. You know.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I had that one game against CLG where I was like,
oh, you popped off.
I was tanking bubbles from Zoe, and like that's the best thing you can do as Yuumi. You know, you play lane face, you hit them in the face with your fucking pew pew. You know, and then you block skill shots for Yuumi for your series. That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
So it's fair enough. But what I was getting at is that no one ever says, "Oh, CoreJ can't play Yuumi," despite CoreJ at Worlds, always the guy who either bans it or wants to play against it with like Rel Tristana at Worlds in 21. I remember they were the team that tried to counter Yuumi because of CoreJ.
Yeah.
And then you pick Tristana Rel, you fail one thing, game is lost.
I will say with Core, I think a lot of it is kind of like he has that aura of like, because
he's kind of invincible almost.
Yeah, well, and he's very well respected.
Yes.
People know that he's like a grinder. He works for a region. He won a world championship. So I will say, like, I agree with you. He has avoided
a certain level
of criticism that other players would have gotten.
Yes.
No, and I actually agree that it's not fair. Like, but it's one of those things
but
that
he's the only one. He's just the best example because he's really bad at those champs. IMO, anyways.
But he did start getting some flack, I will say, last year in summer, even for melees. Like when TL was doing bad, people did start to throw some flame even on the engaged supports and stuff, where like he had like a Leona game, I remember, that he was missing a lot. Yeah. And I think people, like, I don't think Core gets out of this split without criticism if they continue to do like middle of the road or bad. I think it's like the first time that people are starting to like kind of examine him a little bit more closely.
It wasn't only about him anyway. I'm not trying to target him. Of course. I respect CoreJ. He's a really good support player. And it's been him against Vulcan for the last many years. So don't get me wrong.
I understand what you're saying. It's just that there's like, this is, all good players have their weaknesses. And this is his weakness. And you're just saying that his weakness is not discussed as much.
And to the point about like, we haven't seen you on engaged sports as much. Like,
for a while,
there's just like inertia in terms of like public perception.
What does that mean?
Inertia is like you have to slow something down. Like if someone's
like hesitation.
Like think about viewership, for example. If it's going down before it goes up, you need to slow down.
Right.
So if someone has a really good perception of Core JJ, it's not like he has a bad game.
It won't go from like this. Yeah.
You don't snap. Right. It's like you have to have a bad performance a number of times before people are like, wait a minute. Maybe he sucks at this.
It's been a while since I've seen
his fault.
So there's like this momentum that you have to stop.
Inertia. That's a pretty good word.
Inertia, momentum. Yeah.
Just write it down real quick.
Suddenly it scrims. He's like, we didn't have enough inertia for this play.
I also feel like just in general, perception always lags
behind reality
pretty far in League. That it's like, if you were dog shit for 5 years, then and all of a sudden you're the best player in the league, it's going to take people a while to actually believe it.
Unless you're like a popular player that's very narrative. It's just something I've been talking about for a while, that some players, Reckless, Doublelift, Perks, Bjergsen, like popular players, will get a lot more credit for doing something very mediocre, Faker as well, while someone who's really, but if they make a really bad mistake, they'll get a lot more flame for it as well, right? Like if Doublelift gets caught, Doublelift gets caught, hey, I hate Doublelift. Same thing with Tia last year. Like people were like praying for the downfall.
They hated them so much. Yeah.
Bjergsen, I thought, got way more flame.
Yes, Bjergsen's that guy for sure. He gets a lot more flame, and he just like a microscope on him all games to do something. Any mistake, whoa, he's so bad.
If he doesn't hard carry the game.
Exactly.
If he just has a good laning performance, it's like, well, he should have been up all over the map. He should have snowballed his top laner for him.
It's the same thing with people like Reckless. Like, he can do nothing wrong the whole game. Wow, Reckless sucks because they lost. Yeah. He's 1-0-0 and didn't do anything.
I mean, that's kind of just being a star, though.
Mid jungle runs the whole game down. That's like, yo,
that's sports.
Not his fault. Yeah,
when you have more fans.
Yeah, I mean, Ronaldo, Messi, same thing. I get it. Yep. It makes sense. It's
tough though.
Yes.
To deal with that pressure and that extra.
That's what I hate about that kind of thing. And then there's some players that build some sort of like immunity almost. Core J was kind of that for a while. I felt like that. I thought Vulcan was better than Core J for a long time, but he never got the credit he deserved. As my support when I was playing with him, I thought he was way better. It was not even close, in my opinion, right? But CoreJ was like immune to criticism for a long time. Yeah. And then Hans Sama came over, and it was similar. Hans was having a terrible split, especially in spring. No, summer.
Summer was
a bad one. Yeah. I was like, this guy is actually just bad. Compared to how good he was when I played against him before.
Yeah.
And then it felt like no one really like cared about it. It was like, yeah, it's just Bjergsen or someone else's fault. Or fuck this guy or that guy. You know?
Actually, the Bjergsen was pretty good last split, and I voted on him. I can't remember.
He got flamed.
I think I put him in a second place All Pro or something like that. I actually thought he played pretty well. Yeah, and I was getting flamed for that. Like I was getting hard flamed.
I will say Bjergsen is one of those people that a lot of people praise his downfall for no reason really. I don't really get it. The guy's like
he's pretty inoffensive. He's not.
He's a very nice guy who doesn't try to step on anyone's toes. He tries hard in scrims. He tries hard in general. Sure, it flopped the world a couple times, but it's not like he's not trying.
If you hit a certain level of popularity,
he is still the best player in his region to make it worlds, right?
Yep.
One of the best players at least in top 3. So it's like, why are you flaming this guy? What did he do to you? It's for me like I get some people, they go to Wunder's profile on Twitter and they're like happy he lost because he talks shit about everyone. I get that, you're praying for his downfall. It creates hype and content. But like someone like Bjergsen, like this guy never talks shit to anyone before. Like
that's the problem.
Like literally ever. Fuck you. You're too nice to everyone.
Yeah, he's got it. So when he has a good performance, he needs to rub it in their faces more and like tweet out his highlights, just clip his good play. Start being his own hype man.
And I remember when I was playing with him, he really hated that narrative. He was a passive player and he felt like pressured at the times to even do something.
Yeah.
It's just annoying to have this kind of narrative. That's why I stopped. Like recently, like when I was in G2 and Origin, I was tweeting all the time like, haha, you guys suck, and we're gonna thump you guys today in scrims, and LCS, haha. And then now I'm like, I don't tweet anything ever, almost. I looked at my profile the other day, and someone told me, your Twitter looks like a fucking sellout account. Like
you just retweet the
like a retweet, a giveaway account. Like someone has like a burner account for retweets for like game stuff. I'm like, I'm that guy. I'm like, shit, I have to tweet something soon,
Yeah. I mean, that sucks. And I get why pros feel that, right? Because I do feel like there's this constant kind of like, it's a contradiction with itself where fans want personality from pros, but you will also get roasted if you kind of go out, put yourself out there and it doesn't work out at all because you draw more attention to yourself.
Yeah.
So it is difficult, right?
No, I will say, I used to trash talk no matter win or lose. And I was in G2 Origin and it was nice and fun because I felt like the reception was okay regardless of what happened. But in recent years in like TSM, it reached like the death threat level, and I was like, wow.
I mean, that's disgusting. Like,
this is not for me, right?
Never happen.
When I lost that final, we all remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
That game 5.
The Skarner,
I didn't check my Instagram for like years after that until I joined C9 and we finally won split. I checked it once and then I scrolled down a little bit.
3-year-old messages.
Behind the congratulations, you're insane, and all the girls admiring me, it was like, fuck you, I hope you die and I hope you get cancer and all these things. I'm like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
I don't even read it. I see like, I hope you die or like, fuck you, and I'm like, yo, I said like 50 in 9 weeks ago or something, like, whatever, it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, that shit is horrible.
So for me now, it's just like Reddit, no go. I go there only for like post-game threads to see the draft from like LCK of last night. I open it in the morning, I'm like, LCK played, LSB versus the team. Okay, cool, take the draft. Nothing new. Cyril versus Lujinami. Sylvain Maokai. Okay, cool. Nothing new happened today. But I don't read comments anymore. Even if it's us winning, I just don't do it because you can imagine the same comments in every single post-game thread. Just change the player names, champion names to something else.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's healthier to not read it.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if it is positive, and this is something that I think a lot of people don't talk about, the positive side of it. It's like, even if they're loving you, it's almost like inflating your ego to a point where it's not actually doing anything positive for you. It's way better to have people that you trust, and the same goes for casting, right? Where it's like people that you trust to give you like honest feedback, where it's like, Zven, you're terrible as champ, or you're really running it down on this, and like someone's got to be able to like tell you that, right? Like, you need to hear that, but not necessarily from Reddit.
I realized I just don't like the vibe social media gives off nowadays. It's like people go online on Twitter or Reddit to find something that they don't like, and they will make sure to comment about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this your problem? Just fuck off somewhere else,
Yeah, it's weird too, because like there's 3 like camps. There's like players, casters, content creators, this kind of stuff, and then there's the fan group. I don't know if you saw this late last weekend. It was like a late Friday night. Impact just flamed the shit out of me on Twitter randomly.
Oh yeah. I didn't see what it was about, but I heard about
deserved.
that. I heard people talking about it.
Yeah, it was funny because he just like, I didn't represent what he was doing in a play because I was trying to give like a tips and tricks to fans at home, and he thought I was disagreeing with his decision, where I was just like, if you ult early on Cassante, you lose half your health. Be careful when you do this. And so like, it was like a big nothing burger of a thing. And like, but what happens is then Reddit grabs his tweet about me, and then like that spawns a whole Reddit chain.
Right.
And it's just like, it's so hard to just.
And it comes very civilized.
It becomes uncivilized. But like, it just sucks that there's this like you said, the nature of social media these days. Whereas like back in the day, if people just like bantered, it didn't turn into anything. That wasn't quite banter, but like.
Yeah, I felt like when I got here in 18, that in EU, I was just bantering. Like we could say things that were really like, up there, like whoa, this is personal.
You're throwing hands, but people understand.
But people didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It was like, haha, cool. But then when I got here, it felt like people took it personal a lot, for the most part. And like the fans took it really personal too. They talk shit, and the fans are there praying for your downfall, hoping you lose, and the moment you do anything wrong, they'll crucify you. And I felt like, damn, this kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah.
So at some point I started, when I have that bad streak in TSM, that 2 years, and then in C9 we had a really good start to spring with the year with the 17-1 split and all that, where I got robbed from MVP. Anyways, moving on. And then we lost in summer, didn't make Worlds. And I was like, fuck, here comes all the no sneaky, no Worlds people. And I was like, oh, not this again, man. Maybe I'm just fucking washed, you know? I was like, actually, like a little bit depressed, like opening Twitter and stuff like that, right? And then I realized it's better for me to not tweet and not be on social media or Reddit. So now I'm just like chilling, you know, not going on Reddit anymore. I only like browse for like drafts or whatever, and
I mean, if
maybe some content here and there. I don't make comments about anything that's esports related. And I'm just like, Twitter, yeah, same thing. I just go on Twitter, retweet my sponsors, and maybe make a funny tweet when I win some games, and then that's it, you know. And it's better for me.
Yeah, I mean, if it affects your mental health negatively, right? Like you shouldn't be on it. Like I use Twitter a lot still. I find Twitter much easier to like curate than Reddit and stuff. I mean, for me, like I haven't really. I mean, sometimes I'll go on and check a specific thing on Reddit, but like I haven't browsed Reddit type stuff for years for similar reasons, because it can be really like harmful for your like mental state, right? Like it can actually really get you down. And I've seen that happen to like a lot of casters. I've seen that happen to a lot of pros. I'm honestly surprised that it's almost more like not pushed more, that the pros shouldn't be on it, because I see the same things from pros and casters and all these things where it's like people are in there searching for every comment about themselves and like, you know, trying to read everything.
I mean, I've seen a guy, you know, sitting on his desk, Control F, his own player name, and comment. I'm like, why do you do this? No matter what it is in there, it's bad for you.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole if you believe them when they tell you you're great, you're going to believe them when they tell you you're shit.
Yeah, these same people will talk about you next week for no reason, and they're probably like gold.
I mean, it's just fandom, right? It's like people are happy when you win, and they're mad when you lose, right? And I think that is a part of sports, but I do think that in esports, you guys are way more exposed to it than traditional athletes are.
Our game is very online oriented.
Yeah,
like our world. Yeah.
And even streaming and stuff, right? It's not like LeBron is streaming his practice and you can go in and be like, you fucking suck, LeBron. Like, get a good jumper, you bum. Like, Kobe was better. What, like,
your balls
a goat. Yeah, right.
Like
people aren't like exposed to it in the same way. Like, there's not the same boundaries. It's very easy for me to like go on and I can go to a lot of LCS pros stream and I can say what I want to them there. They're gonna read it. I can like tweet to you and you're probably gonna read it. You know, like there's more.
In that sense, fans are spoiled.
And I think that it's like there's positives and negatives to it. It's great to have that exposure, and I think it also hits home like the importance of like the positive side and the encouraging side of fans too, right? Like that it's important to be able to have that to balance it out.
Absolutely.
Because I do think positivity breeds more positivity, and when people are also negative, they feel like people are less inclined to tweet something positive because they feel like they're going to get dogpiled on for it, right?
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the opposite of you two, where I'm terminally online, and I'm like
terminally online.
Yeah, just constantly like I was up at 1 o'clock to respond to that, and then there's a Reddit thread. I was up at 2:30, you know, responding to that, you know, and like it's
under
like
a fourth Red Bull.
Yeah, just third coffee, you know.
Yeah, Mark like straight up shotgun to Red Bull before by the way.
I needed it, bro.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, I got here at like 10 o'clock.
But
but it's something where like it's hard to expect everyone to be that engaged all the time to like respond to things, because I agree that it's easy to pull away, but if you do, then like I would rather be, for me personally, the one out there like diffusing situations, because I think that like it turned into a nothing burger. You know, I put my
nothing burger.
Yeah, it was like, you know, people had this thread, and then I'm just like, nah, this is what happened. It's chill. I don't really. And then you can kind of control the narrative a little bit, but I think also like. I don't want this to sound like just fan bashing, like, oh, they're tearing them apart. We don't appreciate fans. But it's like, cool. I really like interacting with fans and having this level of communication where I can go into a thread. But like, I think sometimes people don't realize like they're going to read this. Whatever you're saying, like a real human being is going to read that and it's going to hit you the way it would basically if they said it to your face. And I think that's like the disconnect that happens, because you're just one of a million comments. And it's like, but someone's actually going to read that.
Actually, on that note, like when I was in TSM in 18, 19, I thought the fans were fucking amazing. Every interaction I ever had was positive, nice, smiling people that were happy to see me, despite me replacing, you know, Double Lift, really popular player, who everyone liked at the time. And I was like, their fan base had a really bad rep. Or they had. Now they're fine, I guess. Now they're no longer the best team in the league. But they had a really bad rep that time, the fan base, but I never had any bad interactions in person.
Yeah.
Or any fans, any events or anything. It was only like online, but those aren't fans of TSM. They're like anti-fans. They're like praying on your downfall fans.
I feel like 90% of the fans are actually like really awesome people that are super happy to meet you and see you. And then like almost always when I see like a super negative comment, it's really funny. Like I'll do this on Twitter sometimes. Also, I never block people. I always mute them so they can just scream to the void because I think it's funnier. But like sometimes I'll click on someone's profile if they send me something really heinous and I click on it. And almost always, if you look at their tweets and replies, they tweet that to everyone. Like that's all they do.
You're like, bro, that's fucking miserable. Like,
I know.
Some guy, even Steven 978, it's like just talking shit about everyone. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
It's like, I definitely don't want it to come off as we're bashing fans because like, I mean, I actually really like interacting with the community too. And for me, Twitter does that because like I have found I can kind of curate my thing on Twitter a lot more easily. It's like people who are interested in me follow me, so they're going to more likely respond. So it's more of like a positive thing for me than Reddit, whereas Reddit is more like I can't really control like who the comments are from and stuff.
Of course.
So I think everyone has to do what's good for them. But like at the end of the day, if it's fucking with your head, you just shouldn't be on it.
Yeah,
period.
it was mostly like the trash talk that's like a double-edged sword where if you talk shit and lose, you'll get hit. And I'm fine with that. But it got a bit too personal for me. But the normal interaction is like, hey, I'm playing a game on Friday against this team. It's going to be awesome. Check it out. And be like, hey, let's go. I mean, lose, you're like, oh, I'm sorry to the fans for losing. And they're like, come on, next week will be better. Right? That's wholesome. And I like that, right? That's cool. And it's cool that you can interact with fans like you have with streaming, right? All these kind of things. That's nice. It's just the whole trash talk segment part gets really toxic at times for me. And I was like, fuck this. I don't want this anymore. I'm just going to not do it anymore.
I feel like League in general, and this is something I talked about a bit, I was like last year, I just feel like in general, it's become, and I don't know if this is like a streamer or a content creator or just like a whole community as a whole or whatever that has dictated this, has become more focused on mistakes than celebrating like the positives. Yeah. Like this is something that I brought up. I can't remember if it was last year I tweeted during Worlds or the year before, but I was talking about basically, you know, like the famous Faker Zed versus Zed play. And it's so funny because I basically tweeted, if that play happened today, all anyone would talk about is neither Shen ulted.
Yeah, for example, like,
neither Shen ulted, and then Faker actually ran into turn died after it, right?
How there's like a 10k gold difference in
it's not actually that impressive.
It was a very whatever play, and it still is to this day, in my opinion, the most over play of all time. It's in every montage, and I'm like, it's such a shit play. You know, it's like
you're the problem.
It
depends on his burner. Like.
It's like that one time Xpeke had his one play against
SK.
Vector?
Yeah.
No, not that one. He's playing Zed against Talon at Worlds in 14 against like Dade or something. He solo kills Talon as Zed, and he hits the Krog one time as Zed and kills him like 1 HP and like gets hit by the Krog or something, almost dies. And it's like such a dog shit play, but because of the players in the game, it's like, whoa! You're like, this is not hype at all. It's like the thing I mentioned earlier that some people, like Fake of Sample, can solo kill someone in the most whatever fashion, like, whoa, Faker! You know,
but do you think it's kind of great? Like,
it is good that
I love that
the player makes you more hyped. Yeah, that's good. But it's just like, don't make the play something it's not.
Yeah, it's interesting because you went a very different direction. I was basically saying,
you didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're basically the problem here. That's like what
I'm the problem. Sorry.
You're the guy. You're the angry Redditor.
I'm not angry at it.
No, I know.
I'm just like, I don't care for it so much, you know. I'm not gonna be the guy who's on this play actually sucks. Faker isn't the goal because this play blah blah blah. I don't care. I'm just like, the play isn't that impressive. Maybe at that time it was, but it's still a hype play. Yeah. In the moment, it was a really hype play, and that's fine. I get that.
Well, and I think like analyzing the game and talking about things that people did wrong is important and it's interesting to talk about like what you could have done differently and stuff. But I also just think it's really important to look at the positives in situations, right? Like it's like versus like because I think that at a certain point, it makes everything feel like unimpressive or as though it's like there becomes this like symptom of like I think this happens a lot with itemization and also with drafts where it's almost as though every pro player and every coach is just like an absolute buffoon. Like they just don't you know what I mean? It's like how can this guy do this wrong build? Like how is everyone building Chempunk when like Black Cleaver is better? Or how is everyone drafting this instead of that? Like you know these like those kind of things I think can hit a certain.
There's a lot of negativity. Yeah. It's all about who did what wrong and never someone who does something right or whatever. It's true.
And it makes it out as though I think it's like less respect for the pros and the teams and to a point where I think it can become almost like less interesting to watch because like why would I want to watch these people if everyone sucks? You know what I mean? Like, and I think it can put it in a weird headspace when it's too much of a focus on mistakes and not enough on celebrating achievements.
I feel like League as a zero-sum game, like for every time that someone gets killed, like, yeah, that guy probably made a great play, but the other guy probably should have done something different. And so like people tend to just focus on like what the guy did wrong, as well as the fact that like a lot of things in League are like set up from way in advance. Like you won some trades to lead to this situation to then that this guy could roam up and then they get a 3v0 dive. And it's like, well, you know, you talk about the 3v0 dive, but you don't talk about the 4 or 5 things beforehand that led to that situation. And those aren't like super hype things like, oh, he autoed the GP barrels as Jace a couple times so he didn't get the barrel combo and then he won lane. And it's like, you don't
I actually love that stuff though. That's
I agree, but it's like, it's just hard to talk about that in a cast or like, you know, as it's live. And it's like, you only appreciate it later.
That's what Lane Kingdom was for me. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
A little bit, yeah.
But like,
I watched one with Niski in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yasu, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
A long time ago.
But it's like, to me, like that was a fun part of that, because I do think like it's cool to highlight like these small things that people are doing right that can snowball to something greater, right? Because that is a way to highlight like the skill of the players, right?
For sure.
Because it's in a cast and on the desk as well. And in most circumstances, you don't actually have enough time to like fully focus on like all the little things that someone has done or to follow only one player, only one lane. So I think that stuff can be fun to talk about.
I think a lot of time you'll see highlights of someone getting killed in lane or getting ganked or getting dove, but you don't know how they got here.
Yeah.
And that's what actually matters.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter like how you play the dive. It matters how you got there in the first place. That's like the thing that's hard to replicate. And I think there's also, before that you mentioned about the negative attitude built towards plays, it's important to distinguish a good play versus a unforced error.
Yeah.
Like someone's running it down.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like people often say, this guy sucks. But sometimes someone actually made a really good play and it doesn't get enough credit, you know, when there's a good play. So it's like, that's where the players come in handy. Like, Faker kills someone, Faker's the fucking goat. Or like, someone who's very not popular, like let's say a tactical gets caught, it's always his fault.
Yeah.
No matter who did the play, right? It's like, that's like the thing I don't like, you know, when it's not even, I guess. Who gets credit or
nameplates are on. People react to the nameplate.
People want to see tactical int. People want to see Bjergsen lose. But why?
Well, I think that's one of the fun things about like LCS has been having pros on the broadcast way more. So it's like we can see some
Caster Zven.
Yeah,
I was not that good at it. I watched it back and I was like, fuck, man. This is kind of hard, man.
New appreciation.
Like sometimes when you're watching a game, I'm like, okay, mute the casters. And then now what would I say if I'm casting this game? And I'm like, this is actually kind of harder than I thought it would be. It's like, try-casting especially is harder than I thought it would be.
There's all these hand signals. There's like the things down here.
I remember I got told this, that the hands on table means you want to talk next. That's something Phreak told me in like 2017 at Rift Rivals. I was casting some low elo game with him. But it's harder than you think. And it's hard to get a lot of words across in a short amount of time that makes sense in the moment while something else is happening on the screen, right? So it's not as easy as people think.
Thank you. There you go.
And I'm also like, I speak too fast. I have an accent. You know, I stutter a little bit here and there, and I can't say some words correctly. So I have a speaking
Normally
problem.
You want to drop an F-bomb, but you can on the broadcast.
I think
I can handle myself if I have to.
People really enjoyed your cast.
Yeah, it was really good.
Maybe, I can handle myself if I have to with the F-bombs, but I can't stop myself from speaking fast. It's really hard for me. I've tried before. If I was doing something serious with casting or like broadcast work, I would have to like take classes. I know you can learn that.
Yeah.
I remember the physio talked to me about it.
Yeah.
How he had a big accent and a hard time pronouncing certain words. That's something I could do in the future if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I think it would help for me in my life in general, anyways, because I can't pronounce some words without stuttering or like, you know.
Yeah.
It sucks, right? But that's just how what it is. That's why I respect people like the, you know, Flowers, like spitting like 500 words per minute. And I'm like, I can hear every word perfectly. I'm like, whoa, this guy is insane. I can be the smart guy. That's easy because I'm a pro player, right? I know what's going on in the game. I know what's going to happen. Draft, items, I got this covered. But the whole shouting at the microphone while being clear and talking fluently, getting everything across in as little words as possible, it's hard.
But here's the thing. The different things are going to come naturally to different people, right? So you have the knowledge, but that's not, it's easy for you, but you've had a pro career of how many years? 10 years more?
Yeah.
So it's like that.
15.
Okay, there you go,
8
right?
years, 9 years, yeah.
So it's like, that is why that is easy to you. Whereas like Flowers might come in or someone can speak really eloquently, but doesn't have the knowledge. So it's incredibly hard to learn if you're coming in from ground zero. So it's like
both ways, yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I think also it's kind of funny talking to you about casting because sometimes you just don't really have something good to say, but it's your turn to talk and you have to say something.
Time to dribble, you know, blah, 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 blah.
That is, I swear to God, 90% of the time that like someone doesn't like something I've said or something like that, it's almost always.
It's filler.
I've been talking for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's or like in like the impact example, I didn't look at the clip. I requested those clips like 4 days ago. I didn't have a chance to look at them, and we put them up because there's a pause because there's an hour delay, and I'm up there like, what clip's next? I don't know what's coming. What was I gonna say here? You know, and you're trying to just fill, and then it's like
live broadcast.
And like, bro, it's fucking Golden Guardian versus MT, man. Give me a break, you know? Like, what should I say about this dog shit game? Like,
yeah, you're trying to be like, and like you want to paint player pictures a lot of the time. Like as a color caster, you're not here just to talk about the game. You're here to like
narratives. What I have here in my pocket.
Yeah, you're like, Golden Guardians is on a 4-game loss streak. What do I say? Like maybe they can try and play through bot lane and like
tough schedule.
Yeah, so you just like.
Speaking of schedule, I want to talk about the scrim schedule in the LCS. It's been a bit of a hot topic.
Transition. Look at this guy.
Yeah,
what a pro.
See that?
He's been practicing.
I'm fucking god at this. But yeah, like, so the schedule change, those who don't know, is that it used to be 12 to 5 games straight, 1 hour for draft, game, review. And then now we changed to the Korean format, which is, well, I guess it's the Asian format because I think LPL does the same.
Yeah.
At least the Worlds. So we start at 12. We play 3 games, same style, 1 hour per game with draft and all that. And then a 2-hour break. And then we play 2 more games. The 2-block format, people call it. Normally the break is 3 hours. So 3 games, 3-hour break, 3 games. And some teams really hate the format. Some people really like it. And I think that there's some important things to talk about because in Korea, this format works because the solo queue in Korea at night is really good. At midnight, if you queue up, I don't know if you ever tried it, but in Korea at midnight to 3 a.m., it's only pro players. Only LPL, only LCK, only like really good players that are playing for a living, streamers, whatever. And the game quality is super high. Whereas in NA, you queue up midnight, it's like elo boosters from China, it's degenerates, it's
1 trick,
1 hour queue. Yeah. In Korea, it's instapop. Games are like, you can play like 3 games in an hour in Korea at midnight. And then play 1 game an hour at the very best. So I don't think people think about these things when they say that this format is better. I'm like, why is it better? Because Korea does it. Like, yeah, sure, Korea won Worlds, but we shouldn't copy their format because of no reason, right? And like some teams like TL was pushing hard for this format of 3 games, 3-hour break, 3 games, and they got a compromise with 2-hour break. But like, I don't think they know why this format is good. I agree, 6 games, better than 5 games. I'm fine with that. I'll play 6 games every day, no problem. But do we need a 2-hour break? Do we need to make the day longer? I don't mind the longer day because I'm playing solo queue anyways every hour of my fucking day, right? Like I go 12 to my gaming house, I play my scrims, I go into my own house, and I play solo queue from there until I go to sleep, right? So I'm not going to change that anyways. So I'm not the lazy NA pro. I just don't like the reasoning for this format.
I have 2 things. First up, you made a very astute observation before we started the dive about the teams that didn't like. Can I get a repeat for the dive?
Yeah, I think I said the shit teams want the 5-game schedule. But in reality, it was like the shit teams and EG. And EG aren't shit. They're actually second place. So
yeah. I just wanted to get you to repeat that.
They're the exception.
Yeah, that's
I remember like we had to talk about it, and I was like, so who wants the schedule against like CLG? Okay, so who cares? I personally don't mind the current schedule of 12 to 3 games, 2-hour break, and 3 games from 5 to 8. That's fine with me. But I just don't know why we're doing it. Why can't we just do like 6 games straight? Because there's also this narrative that 6 games straight would mean that. So before in 12 to 5 games straight, there was the 5th game would always be the worst game. And I agree that the break is good for that. But the 5th and 6th game are always the worst games, no matter what format you have. So
I've heard from some people that they like it for that, like the mental reset of
you
get pounded in your first game.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very hard to have a productive block the whole way through if you're opening games, you're just getting railed.
Yes.
So like
I agree.
The thing that seems to be the disconnect for me is like the point like, oh, we just copied Korea and we didn't apply it to our ecosystem.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah. I think that's dumb. I was someone who made a video in the offseason about the 5-game problem of like, you have bad scrims, they end early. Sometimes you're ending at 2:30 because you just get railed for 2.5 hours and you go, we're done.
Yeah.
And I was one of the people being like, well, back in the day, because it wasn't just Korea, it was like, we used to do this too in NA, at least when I was coaching, you would do 12 to 3, 4 to 7. And I thought that the mental reset worked. There's psychology. I put it in air quotes. I don't know why. They're actually in psychology around like how well humans can focus.
There is,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, like even like
you learn while
meetings,
you're resting.
Yeah, you shouldn't like have 12 meetings in a row.
90-minute principle where it's like humans are supposed to be able to focus best for 90 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of reasons it makes sense to me. But like if solo queue sucks at night,
He does, yeah.
Should we start at noon? Should we start at maybe 11? If the 2-hour break's useless, should you shrink it to 1? These are the problems that I think should be solved, because the question that I would ask is like, do you think the quality of practice has gotten better, at least during the scrim time, even if the time around it has become kind of crappy? Or is it not enough of a change?
I think the first point you made about the break being good if you're getting stomped is true. Like I've been there where you get stomped first block, you come back second block with a better draft, a better strategy, and everyone's like less tilted. That's good. That's true. I agree with that. But then there's also like the 5th and 6th game are always the worst games, no matter what form you play.
If you had a good first block, your second
we're
block.
waking up. We have a wake up time of 11. Be in our house at 11. So 10:30 wake up time. So if you're awake at 10:30, you're not gonna be super focused at like 7 p.m. It's not possible to be focused for 9 hours straight, or like be a human for 9 hours straight, right? So no matter what form you have, the last games are always gonna be the worst games.
Yeah.
That's just it, right? So at that point, the format doesn't matter.
What do you think about so like CLG's GM came on last week, and I know one of the things he had talked to me about, and some of the other players and coaches I had talked to were saying that they actually felt like the old format was fine, or this format can be fine, but the main problem is, regardless of format, is teams taking too much time in between games.
That's only some
like
teams.
Artificially inflating it.
Yeah, there's like this, not a rule, but it's a sort of agreement that their review should be like 20 minutes-ish tops, right? 25 minutes is fine sometimes, depending on how long the games are and stuff like that. But generally, it's like some teams just take a really long time. These, for example, the TSM with Bjergsen in it had long reviews as well when he was a coach. And it's not it's like, for me, it's like a team-to-team agreement. Some teams, like EG, spend very short amount of time in reviews. They like to speed on their days, like we say. They like to they're behind early game, FF really quickly, review, 5 minutes, next game. And then just GG the day as fast as possible, right? That's, in my opinion, bad. But some teams all take like half an hour in reviews. Like we played against TL and we stomped them the other day, last week I think it was, 6-0 day. That's what I mentioned for everyone out there. And then the reviews are like 35 minutes. I'm like, yo, I'm like on the floor thinking, wow, I am bored. And we have long reviews too. Mithy is like going over every detail. Every
should I have autoed this minion
every
here?
pink word that's walked past in the bush, you will know about it, right? So I'm like, that's a pretty long review. I'm like, they're on lobby yet? No? Yo, okay. So it's like, at that point, you're just being disrespectful towards your opponents, right? Like EG being done in 5 minutes shouldn't matter to us. The agreement is like 15, 25 minutes, whatever,
as long as
right?
You're done in that time.
As long as you're done in that time, you're fine. That's my opinion, right? So
what's your opinion on this? I'm kind of interested, because I feel like the reason fans care about scrim stuff is it doesn't have anything to do with them, but they care about like the success of the region, right? People are like, why is NA bad? Like, why aren't we winning internationally? Why can't we beat E? Why can't we beat Korea? And so it's like, this is one of those things where it kind of falls under that bucket. So it's like, in your mind, what is the biggest problem then with our practice? If it's not schedules, if it's like, is it that people are disrespectful with time? Is it that they're not taking it seriously enough? Like what is like the actual answer? Like if you could change something with the practice schedule or practice format, how would you try to do it to improve the league?
I think the advantages that Korea has is that their server solo queue is insanely good, and that they have both LPL pros and also the Taiwanese pros on that server, and like people from the region around that area.
Yeah, LGL, I think, connect and like a bunch of people.
They're playing on VPNs on that server, right? So they have a huge sample size of really good players on the server. Then there's the fact that at midnight, everyone queues up at the same time. Like in Korea, all pros play solo queue. Besides Barrel, maybe. He's the good, he's the good, right? He's the good, right? Like, so it's whatever. But in NA, not only is there less players playing ranked, the time zone also is different.
Yeah.
So at midnight in LA, when I'm playing my 5th game of the day, some guy in East Coast, like let's say like
3 a.m.
Some people that are high on ladder, like TF Blade, are never in my games. I have never seen him in my game for years now, almost, right? He's like in my games once in a while when I'm on my off day playing solo queue. But otherwise, I never see him. Him or someone else who's East Coast, never saw him.
Yeah, I'm a Cutie used to be like a morning streamer.
Yeah, he plays from like 12 to 5 p.m. And then it's like 8 p.m. for him. He's like, okay, I'm done for the day. Never saw him. So like that time zone thing matters. Less players matters. And then I think that the LAC caught up to the Asian regions when the ERL started popping up, because it gave a lot of incentive to be a pro player. You can be look at like the French league, LFL. Like you're making a good life in Carmen Corp being a player in LFL, like Cabochard or something. He's good for life, just chilling in LFL, right? It gives incentive to be a pro player And a lot of like
more achievable.
Yeah.
To get into a tier 2 league. And
being an academy player in NA sucks. Like for real, you're like not a lot of people make it from academy, but in LSC a lot of people make it from LFL or like the Spanish league. It's called I forgot. LVP.
Yeah, LVP. Yeah.
Yeah. That actually matters. That means there's a bigger talent pool to draw from, and this creates like more incentive to be an amateur, more incentive to become a pro player.
Yeah.
So that's why I think LSC caught up in 18-19 when that started to become more of a thing. Back when I was playing in LSC, there was Challenger League. Was that what it's called? Challenge Series.
Yeah, it was
Challenge Series,
before.
and then LCS, nothing else.
Why do you think EU has fallen off a bit then, right? Because I think it's fair to say the last couple of Worlds, they've done significantly worse than those years, right? Like, was it really was it what you're talking about, where it's like, it was actually successful because of the ERLs and stuff being successful? Because those are still here now and doing really well. Or was it like G2 Magic or like a couple Magic teams that really like boosted the region?
Fnatic World Finals was a bit lucky. They met C9 in the semifinals.
IG on the other side of the bracket fighting KT.
IG and KT, the two actual world finalists on one side of the bracket. That's just Riot Games format for you, right? I mean, you guys can't say anything to your casters.
No, I've railed against our bracket for a while.
Maybe you can. I don't know what your standard, but the format sucks.
Everyone knows that double limb gets you a more accurate. The more games you play, the more accurate the finals is. Everyone knows that.
Fnatic was a good team, and they were worthy of being semifinalists that year. Don't get me wrong, but beating C9 and someone else shouldn't be a world finalist alone, right? They would not have beaten KT.
Yeah.
And I just dumped them 3-0. So that's that, right? G2 was a very special team because it's like 5 players that both personality-wise and playstyle-wise fit perfectly in a meta that allowed for like
creativity.
Yeah.
You could actually put Pike 5 places. Yeah.
They were literally like the embodiment of like crazy. And that meta allowed it. So they were like, they put together an actual super team. Not like the best player in every role, but a team that fit perfectly player-wise, personality-wise. Like, I was at Perk's wedding, right? This offseason. Very nice event in Croatia. And I never actually hung out with these people together. I know Perks, I know Wonder, I know Caps, I know Blancos, right? We're good friends, all of them. But I don't know them in that setting. And I could tell how good friends they were. And they brought Duffman and Grabs and their Angel Archer, right? Like the whole squad was there. And I realized these people are really on the same page, personality-wise. And I realized that matters more. And like super teams aren't real.
There's so many examples of that. I mean, TL last year, Vitality this year.
Exactly.
Like, so many teams.
And some teams just need someone that does something. Someone that's selfless, someone who's selfish. Like, that's why people like Carsey and Mad Lions, he was really good. Then he was trashed over a whole year. And now he's in a really good team again, you know, with Niski, who's also another role player. Yeah. It's more important that you have people that fit together as a team. That's why Niski and Blabber was good together. Because Niski is an enabler, while Blabber is a playmaker. Yeah. It just makes sense. That's why super team of best player doesn't work.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right. Now I'm going to hard pivot us into draft because we haven't touched on that yet. That was one of the big things that we thought we were going to talk about. It's like, what, an hour later now, and we're just getting to it. It's the Death of Zven patch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's fucked up that Phreak's just been nerfing me like on CD recently. Like,
gets rid of Yuumi out of the meta.
Okay, to be fair, he did let me win one split before he came into the balance department.
Yeah,
with the Yuumi.
He was fuming about it. By the way,
I was running everyone in summer. It was kind of so funny. Like, I remember talking to Mitty about it. He was like, "Yeah, you guys are too good. you win as Lulu, you win as Yuumi. You can't do anything." But yeah, I think.
Have you had a chance to look at the patch notes?
Yeah,
I
read them today actually because I didn't want to read them before LCS. Like yesterday, because it's like it fucks my mind a little bit.
I do that too. If I see a patch ahead,
I was playing Nautilus in solo queue just this morning, and I was like, my W costs less mana than before. It gets more shield. Huh? I'm like, yo, this is kind of weird. What if I'm playing Nautilus in LCS and I have bad read on my mana cost because of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but no, I've seen patch notes today. Yeah, I saw Annie is huge. The melee support buffs are pretty good on some of them, like Braum, I think Rakan as well.
A lot of melee supports got buffed. Alice
some of them are like whatever. Like Thresh Hook dealing like 10 more damage because of his souls or AP ratios doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But like Rakan's heal being 10 more at rank 1 or like Nautilus, you know, mana cost down, health on his shield up, passive damage up. It's pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
Braum spells also got a pretty good buff and the cooldown is passive and his W increase in armor and MR. So some of them matter a lot, I think.
Do you think
some are
it's
small
enough to disrupt the meta as it is right now, where there's so much focus on
Lucian Nami,
and just prio in general? Like every single champion that you lock in is like, I'm here to contest the wave, you know? Like,
yeah, I will say that it's going in the right direction. And if I was Phreak or like whoever's the CEO of balance
Phreak is just the balance.
I just blame Phreak, you know?
Yeah, he's the public face.
If I was the guy, right, I'll do the same thing. I think nerf Amoglaive a little bit, not too much. Isn't like that OP, it's just OP. And then buff lolesports a little bit, same time. And I think we have a good game at this point. Like I think, honestly, right, balance gets a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But they're doing pretty good, I think, in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes some monsters get created, like Siri in release day was the most OP thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Then it got changed. It was still OP in different ways. And then it got nerfed. It wasn't seen at Worlds at all. And then it came back for Spring Split, and it was really OP again, you know? Yeah. So there's some bangers there. But generally, like, recently, I think the game is going the right way. Excuse me.
And the game is, I mean, really fun to play. Like 10 years in, right?
Yeah.
So I do think they do actually a really good job overall.
There are some disasters like the Chemtech Dragon, the first version.
Yeah, they're always
disgusting. That map was disgusting, right?
Yeah.
But they removed it from the game and they tried again with the new one. It's like not that funny either, but it's okay, right? Yeah. And they keep the game fresh with plants back in the day. You know, people mock that. Of course they did. And it's really good for the game, I think. The Blast Cone especially and Vision Plants and, you know, things like that. And the new dragons are much better than the old ones.
Yeah.
So I like the change to the game generally. But as for this patch alone, I think...
Are there gold generation changes in this too? The nerfs to like Sickle and
jungle,
Spell
jungle only, no?
Okay, I can't remember. I saw something on Twitter about like Spell Thieves and Sickle were going to get nerfed gold generation, but I wasn't sure if that was in this patch or PvE or something.
I think jungle lost like 10 gold
Yeah, the
minute.
gold per treat thing.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
so weak now.
That's why I don't like reading the patch notes online because you're like, wait, I saw an early leak of this thing, and then like I'm playing on this patch, and this one's the next one. It's hard to keep track of. But yeah,
I think that this might be a really good patch balance-wise, where there's space to play like Ashe support.
Yeah,
but if you want to play like Nautilus, you can as well. I think Annie might be OP as support. That's what I've been hearing. That's like the word in the street right now. Is that Annie support is OP?
I mean, she's just so OP right now. If she doesn't get hotfix, she's gonna get hotfix. She's like 58% win rate.
Yeah, I didn't want to play it because I didn't want to get bad, like, I don't know, practice, I guess, for my LCS games. So I'm gonna play it tonight when I get home. I'm kind of like hyped for it.
Yeah.
But I bet it's gonna be banned in every game. So, but whatever. I think, like I mentioned, sometimes like Braum, Rakan, pretty good buffs, I think. Thresh, whatever, doesn't really matter. I don't know about the Alistar. I've seen the top in a couple of games now. It's like I don't know what's up with that, but I think we're reaching a good middle ground where you can play both range champs and melee champs.
Yeah.
And that's like the best thing you can have in the game.
I mean, anytime there's only like one way to draft, the game gets boring.
Yes.
Right? Like it gets really boring to watch. I'm sure it gets boring to play.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you want there to be diversity and variety.
I think the most skilled playstyle isn't actually like a meta where you're playing Nautilus versus Leona every game. That's also boring at some point to watch because the games are scripted. The matchups are scripted, right? But I think that there's also no skill in playing Yuumi versus Lulu every single game at some point. So I think a middle ground where you're playing range versus melee is actually really skilled because there's a very thin line where
push and pull.
You hook Karma, you win. No, you hook Karma too early, and now you can't follow up anymore, and he's gonna W you, and you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, and from
you tried to think of another word. Like, I'm too lazy.
And from the range side, it's like if you get enough poke, they can't all in anymore, and you can start running it.
Yeah, it's nice balance. I think that we're gonna have here in this patch. I'm hoping that it might just be like nothing changes. Somebody's gonna play Lulu anyways in Syria.
Well, it's like if you can't get enough kill threat, then like you still get poked out and stuff like that. But like this is a nudge in the right direction. And I'd rather see like oftentimes a bump and see what happens, and then a little bit more, and eventually you get the change.
I like that they didn't buff one side and nerf the other at the same time, which is a common Riot mistake they made in the past, where they just over nerf one thing and then buff the other side as well.
The other thing's murdered.
Like that one patch when they just buffed Lucian and Nami, same patch. I'm like, what are you guys even thinking with this? You know, like, obviously they're gonna be OP now. They made his new passive and they buffed Nami's E or something. I'm like, come on, guys.
This is totally a tangent, but it made me really curious because something I've been thinking about a lot for a couple of years is just changes to pick ban in a way that either there's more bans added, or even like if champions are say like 80%, 90% presence, like rotating champions out, like almost like forced diversity.
Yeah.
As a way to like just straight up just for more entertaining games because it's more fun to see more diversity. But also I do think it's cool to reward players who are flexible. Like do you think that kind of stuff would be interesting or good, or you're against it?
I mean, I've heard of this format where you can play something once in a series and it's
Like
banned.
Fearless Draft or whatever
Is that what it's called?
right?
Yeah, I heard about that. I think it's interesting concept, but it would be hard to practice with this, I suppose. It would get really wild sometimes.
It also feels weird to be like, have this very different game style that doesn't translate to international or whatever. So like if you did it domestically,
It would have to be everything.
it has to be a universal.
It would be a riot force thing, which would be a problem, I guess, for the regions. They
But I
would
mean,
like
even
it.
if you just added bans, right? Like if they could just add bans to the game, and then everyone would just have more bans, right?
I mean,
If there
even
was,
adding like just one more ban on both sides in first phase would be a huge change, right?
Yep.
Because right now, like you see Siri versus Lulu, Siri Lulu versus Lucianami every game because everyone is banning Caitlyn and Ashe.
Yeah.
You know, for example, on Vars, right? That's why that happens every game because you use like you ban Vars, you ban Caitlyn, you ban Leash, you ban Ashe, and then it's like, and now we just had Siri Lulu again.
Yeah.
This is the most handshake we can get, so we're good for it.
Do you think like it's interesting? Because I always feel like there's a section of S tier champions, and it's so hard to get below them because we don't have enough bans and there's only so many picks. But I always feel like there's actually like a big group of champions that are just below them that are actually pretty good and like is a big pool. Like, do you think if there was more bans, we would actually see more diversity, or would people just optimize to the point where they're like, nope, okay, it's not Zeri, but actually it's Zyra Khan versus whatever every single game?
Nah, probably not. Like one more ban wouldn't change anything, but like maybe if you had like
5 more bans.
5 bans in first phase, then you'll see a lot of different drafts, right? But that point is like you can ban 5 top winners in first week 1, you know? It's like
random bans thrown in.
Ivern top.
Fans globally vote on bans every patch.
I just like the meta as it is right now. If melees were a little bit better, I think it would be perfect. I think right now you can still play like support Kalista if you want to. You can still play like, you know, Ashe board and stuff like that. And I don't think that's gonna be worse next patch because Armor Glaive does 1 less damage to wards. It's actually a bit different than it looks like because now before a ward was placed in your face, you kill one shot.
Instantly one shot.
It doesn't proc the glaive. But now, if you see the ward and you hit it, it will still proc your glaive with long cooldown as well. So yeah, it's a good nerf, but it won't make the champ useless at all. It's still a good laner. Still a very, very good laner. Still a very good engage tool. Map hack with your E, right? Zombie ward on every ward you kill. So I think I like that there's room for like these kind of picks, but I hope that it doesn't just become Nautilus, Leona, Sauerkhan again, you know, because these matchups are very, really easy to play. And really, I think sometimes people say range matchups are easy to play.
Yeah.
But I think the range matchups are harder to play than playing Nautilus, Leona, where it's just like, you push early, I push level 3, then you push level 5, level 6 is jungle diff.
Yeah, well, and like you're just so much more volatile in range matchups where like gank comes in, you're boomed or whatever.
I can tell you that playing like Kayle Lux versus Karma Ezreal is so much harder and so much more like one bad skill shot, it's over compared to like playing Nautilus versus Leona where you sit in the bush and just stare at each other. Because if I go first, I lose. If you go first, you lose. So we're sitting there like, what's up? Both AD carries, yoink. CS farming, yoink.
And then sometimes you eat some cookies if you get hit hard.
Yeah, take 1 damage. Fuck potion. You know, it's like that's not actually skilled at all, and people think it is. I do agree that melee supports are more skilled once the lane phase ends, because being useful as Leona and Nautilus is like, okay, one bad hook, you hit Xante, you're dead, one shot.
Timing on the engages
you,
as well, like do you hard engage, do you peel?
Exactly, and like flanking with Alistar and Rakan, like these are real skilled moments, right? But also some people just don't see Lulu canceling one guy's jump with her ult, you know, or like, okay, I cancel Lee Sin's Q with my ult and I polymorph him right after it. He flashes, right? And then he dies like a clown. This doesn't get seen. It's doesn't look as cool as the guy who hits Rakan flank, 3W, kills everyone, shockwave, you know, like.
Yeah.
So it's obvious, right? It's hard to see, but there are skill things to these things. And like Yuumi, despite being such an easy champion, it has a lot of skill ceiling, where like you jumping in and out of team fights, healing the right people at the right time, min-maxing your Moonstone, like getting a passive blocking skill shot like Zoe's the bubble or Lee Sin Q that can't kill you, but it's a really important skill shot, right?
Yeah.
It's important, I think, and it's hard to play. And it's like I said before, no one talks about how bad Core J or someone else is at playing these champions, or how we all know Core J and Vulcan are best players. Like if it's Nautilus versus Leona, it's Vulcan. If it's Rel versus Antarik, it's Core J, right? That's obvious to everyone. But no one talks about how I'm the fucking GOAT of Yuumi versus Lulu, right?
There you go.
And like when I was playing Summer Split against, you know, Huhi in the finals, I knew we couldn't lose. I was 100% sure we would win that day.
I voted you for All-Pro last year at support, and I got flamed for that too, just saying.
I don't think I was the best in the split.
I don't think I put you first, but you were on my All-Pro. You were in my top 3.
In the split, I wasn't the best.
I think I snubbed him. I don't think he was on my ballot.
Moxie hates me, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Pog.
But I thought that in that split, in playoffs, when I was playing Yumi's Lulu, and Berserker also played Twitch, and he played Nyla better than everyone else, I felt like we were playing better in every matchup than everyone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we could talk all night, but
About how good I am?
About how great you are. So good at casting. Good at playing the game. Good looking. Everything.
Stomping scrims against everyone.
Yep.
We could do it all night.
People.
But unfortunately, we are here Friday night. It's getting close to like 9 something.
It's past 9.
It's past 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Some solo queue.
Producers are trying to play us out. They're trying to play the outro music or something.
What's up, man?
Yeah. So I think unfortunately that's going to do it for us.
Like, fuck yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to go now.
So unfortunate, man.
Yeah. But thank you for coming out and doing the dive with us. I don't even know.
You smurfed it. This was really fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was awesome. Hopefully we can get some more people on as well. Thank you everyone for watching. I don't have a script in front of me for the usual outro, but I know that we normally say make sure to watch this week on Wednesday for Super Week. It's an extra extra day. Yeah, I got it. 2 p.m. Wednesday. We'll see you guys there.
This guy will be playing.
It's an 0.
Smurfing on Yumi.
Oh yeah.
Alistair now.
True.
Rock on.